Today we're doing Module 3, Lesson 18. The objective of today's lesson is to solve two-step word problems involving all four operations. So that means adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, and assess the reasonableness of solutions. The materials needed for today are your online whiteboard or your whiteboard dry erase marker and dry eraser. And the teaching style we're going to follow is where I do it, we do it together, and then you do it on your own. Let me go ahead first and I'll show you an example of a word problem and how we would solve it. Rose has 6 pieces of yarn that are 9 centimeters each, or 9 centimeters long. Sasha gives Rose a piece of yarn. Now Rose has a total of 81 centimeters of yarn. What is the length of the yarn that Sasha gives Rose? So first, let's start with what Rose has already. She has 6 pieces of yarn. So I'm going to make a tape diagram that has 6 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's the 6 pieces of yarn. It says each piece is 9 centimeters long. So each one of these pieces will be 9 centimeters. Sasha gives Rose a piece of yarn. Now Rose has a total of 81 centimeters of yarn. Okay, so I'm going to make this. I'm just kind of guessing how long it's going to be because we don't really know yet. This is the piece of yarn that Sasha gives Rose. When you put these 2 pieces together, it says that she has 81 centimeters of yarn. Okay, so in black is what she has right now. In blue is what Sasha gives her, and we have to figure out how much Sasha gives her so that altogether she has 81. Okay, so first let's start with what we can figure out. This right here we can see is a multiplication equation. There's 6 groups of 9 centimeters each. So we know that that's the same as 6 times 9, or 6 groups of 9. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hand trick. Remember when we multiply by 9s? So I'm going to look at the other number, which is 6, and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put down that finger. How many fingers are up on this side? 5. And how many over here? 4. Okay, so remember I'm looking to the left of my finger, which is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I stop at the finger. And after my finger, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is 5 and 4, which is 54. So we know that Rose starts with 54 centimeters of yarn. We know that she ends up with 81. So what we need to do is figure out how much this blue piece is. So we're going to take the 81, and if we subtract the yarn that we know she has already, that will tell us what is left or what this piece must be. Okay, so first step 1, start in the ones. 1 minus 4. If I have 1, I can't take away 4. So I have to borrow. I'm going to borrow from the 8. I'm just going to borrow 110. So if I take away 110, that gives me 7. I take my 110 and add it to this 1, which gives me 11. Right? 110 plus 1 equals 11. 10 plus 1. Now I can do 11 minus 4, which is 7. Then I go to my tens place. 7 tens minus 5 tens is 2 tens. So this piece of yarn that Sasha gave Rose must be 27 centimeters long. okay? Because we knew how much she had total, and we had to take away the yarn we knew she already had to figure out what was left, and what was left would be the yarn that was given to her. The way we can check if this makes sense, okay, we said if we add these two together, it should equal 81, right? So if we take the 54 that she has, right, the 9 groups of 6, plus the 27 that we're saying Sasha gave her, that should equal the 81 that we know she ends with total. So let's just double check our work. 4 plus 7, well, 4 plus 6 we know is 10, and to get to 7 we just have to add one more, so that gives us 11, right? One on the line and one below gives us our 11. 5 tens plus 2 tens plus 1 10, so 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 more is 8. So we were correct. The length of yarn that Sasha gives Rose is 27 centimeters. Okay, let's go ahead and do one together. Julio spends 29 minutes doing his spelling homework. Then he completes each math problem in 4 minutes. There are 7 math problems. How many minutes does Julio spend on his homework in all? Okay, so on your whiteboards, let's start with our tape diagram for spelling. We know he spends 29 minutes doing his spelling homework, so we're going to label this tape diagram as 29 minutes. Go ahead and make sure your picture matches mine before we move on. We're going to make another tape diagram right below. We don't exactly know how long it needs to be yet, so we're just going to kind of guess. This is going to be for his math problems. We know he does 7 math problems, and each of them take 4 minutes. So I'm going to label this as 7 groups because he does 7 problems. Go ahead and label your tape diagram. Then we need to break it up into 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my last line makes piece 6 and 7 at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces, or 7 groups. We know that each problem takes him 4 minutes, so I'm going to label one piece as 4 minutes. And we want to know how many minutes it takes all together. So if we add those 2 tape diagrams together, how many minutes does that equal? How many minutes does he spend on all his homework, spelling, and math all together? Okay, so we already know how much this piece is. It's 29 minutes. We don't know how much this piece is, but we know there's 7 groups of 4. Well, we know 7 groups of 4 is the same as 7 times 4, right? Because our X stands for groups of. So 7 groups of 4. I'm going to skip count by 7s 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I'm skip counting by 7, so I'll start with 7. Go ahead on your whiteboard, skip count by 7s 4 times, and write that answer when you have it. Okay, so your skip count should have been 7, 14, 21, 28. So 7 times 4, 7 groups of 4 equals 28. So we know that this tape diagram is 28 minutes long, okay? If he has 7 math problems and each of them take 4 minutes, then he spends 28 minutes doing his math. Well, we have to figure out how many minutes he spends all together. So we're going to have to take the 29 minutes that he spends on spelling plus the 28 minutes he spends on math to figure out how long he spends doing his homework all together. So go ahead on your whiteboards and solve 29 plus 28. Okay, so step 1 is starting the 1, so we're looking at 9 plus 8. We could think about this as 8 plus 8, right? Because we're really good at adding our doubles. Well, 8 doubled, we know, is 16. 9 is only one more than 8. So if we double our 8s, that's 16, plus one more is 17. 9 plus 8 is 17. So that's 110 and 7 ones make 17. Now we add 2 plus 2. Well, 2 doubled is 4, plus one more is 5. So we know that it takes 57 minutes for Julio to finish all of his homework. Go ahead and erase those whiteboards. We're now to the part where you're going to work on your homework alone. It's a CAMI assignment. You're going to be doing numbers 1 through 3, okay? So there's 3 word problems. Remember that each of them are 2-step word problems, okay? So if you're looking here and you see a 6 and a 22, you can't just add 6 and 22, okay? There's going to be more than one step, so you have to actually draw it and figure out what those steps are, okay? It's going to be a mixture of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Go ahead and begin.